Indeed, welcome. This is Pastor Suarez Dede, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today, we have a very important, unique topic we will be discussing today, and we have a special guest. We're going to call the name of the guest sooner or later. But you all know that the media is very important in every society. And we are glad that we can be discussing this topic today. But before I even go ahead, I let you know that my co-host, Reverend Dr. Alexander Red, is out today. He's not too well today. We pray for a speedy recovery and a rapid recovery so that we can have a joint podcast again. So please keep it in your prayers as we go through today's podcast. The topic of today's podcast, the live podcast of the Gracious Hope live podcast, is titled The Eye of the Liberian Press. We will go a little deeper into that. So thank you for joining us. Please share this video with your friends, your loved ones, and everyone, as a matter of fact, who need to be a part of this discussion. Don't hesitate to chime in today because we want to have an interactive discussion on this very important topic. Again, today's topic is the eye of the Liberian press. This discussion focuses on the indispensable responsibility of a free and independent media or press, especially the Liberian press. The press of Fourth Estate is a pivotal part of promoting the tenets of fairness, balance, reliability, justice, peace, human rights, rule of law, accountability, trust, and truth in a thriving democracy such as Liberia. So to discuss this very timely topic, we have with us our special guest today, Mr. Honorable Gabriel R.H. Williams, a veteran Liberian journalist, a former official of the Press Union of Liberia, and a founding leader of the Association of Liberian Journalists in America. He will help us to examine the eye of the Liberian press, a shining beacon of truth and watchfulness in Liberia, exploring its essence and the profound impact of its tireless pursuit of truth on shaping the narrative of Liberia, whether politically, socially, economically, and whole 9 yards. So please share this video and welcome. The media everywhere is very vital or crucial to democracy and good governance. So as we do this, we want to pause for a moment and remember the late Reverend Dr. John J. Edwin Lloyd Sr., who passed just about this time last year. He was there when AJA was organized and founded, and we don't want to forget the 1 year anniversary of his passing. So we pray for his family, the friends and loved ones as they remember him today. We know he was a stalwart in fighting for democracy, and he stood for that until his passing. So we thank God for his work on earth, and we pray for God's strength and peace upon the family as they remember him today. May his soul rest in peace, and all the souls of the faithful departed rest in peace. If you don't know, on May 3rd, 2024, media communities around the world celebrate the World Press Freedom Day. Press Freedom Day it highlights the fundamental principles of free press, of free media, which is observed annually on May 3rd. It gives people a chance to think about how important free media are to the society. The public must be informed of the truth by the media, but they frequently face difficulties in conducting their duties in the form of threats, violence, and restrictions, sometimes self restrictions. It is critical that both the public and the government understand this and make an environment that encourages journalists and the press to carry out their responsibilities in the most moral manner possible. So, Press Freedom Day is observed annually to raise awareness of the difficulties faced by journalists and the tasks they perform to maintain the smooth flow of information. Additionally, friends, it serves as a reminder that being a journalist is not an easy task. or an easy job. And our guest can relate to that today during our discussion. He being an active journalist in Liberia in years past, and who worked at the peril of his life as well. So today we hope he can share that with us. But until then, the World Press Freedom Day theme this year is titled "A Press for the Planet: Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis." Isn't this a very unique topic? So let's now see if we bring in our guest today, who is waiting for us to start a discussion. I'm going to bring it up now on the screen. So welcome, Mr. Gabriel R.H. Williams. We are glad to welcome you today to this Gracious Hope live podcast on the topic we just mentioned. So how are you today, sir? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dede. It's my special pleasure and honor to be with you. And I was hoping Reverend Alex would have also been on, but unfortunately, he's not feeling well. We pray for God's blessing and healing power over him so that he'll be able to join you as you both carry on this very important task of continuing to inform keep society informed rather, keep our Liberian community in particular informed about critical developments in our part of the world and beyond. So I bless the Lord for that opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. You are a humble man. You don't like too much big description and titles, so we will not we will not go that far. Or would you mind just giving us an idea of your beginning in the media, so that people appreciate when you talk about the media, they know exactly you talk from an informed position. So would you mind doing that for us?
Yes, and let me just, to begin that, I will take you back to my first book that I published, titled uh, Liberia, the Heart of Darkness. And the subtitle is Accounts of Liberia's Civil War and its Destabilizing Effects in West Africa. The reason why I mentioned this book is when I first won uh, an international, a fellowship to come and study journalism. I served as a journalism scholar at the United Nations headquarters in Liberia, in United Nations headquarters in New York, rather, in the late 1980s, and I was the first Liberian journalist to benefit or to qualify from the Doc Hammarskjöld Memorial Fellowship, which is a program that is designed to bring journalists, mostly from developing countries, to the United Nations to study international affairs. And the people asked me a question because I was very young and I didn't have much experience. I was just a reporter, and all of the people, the fellowship got they select 3 4 journalists every year out of hundreds of journalists from around the world,
Yeah.
Africa, Latin America, Europe, and all these places. And only 4 we were 4 that time, and I was the first. I took first place, and the people asked me, as young as you are with your experience and everything, how did you? And I bring them back, and it bring me back to the question. When I was a little kid coming up, I lost my mom at a very tender age, around 10 years old. And I went, my father took me to live with the Williams family, A.A. Williams. He was a very prominent man in Grand Bassa County along the coast. And by the time I was like, up to, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, I was the man's secretary. The man was blind, and I used to, he used to dictate his letters that came to the executive mansion, that went to the superintendent Grand Bassa County, that came to the president at the executive mansion in Monrovia. And you never know where that leads you. And so I told the people, they were very surprised. They were shocked, and they understood why at that early age, all of the people who won the award that came with me. One of them was director general of the broadcasting corporation in Burundi, and the rest of them were editors from various national publications in their respective countries. And for to have a mere reporter from Liberia. The youngest in the group in my just mid 20s. It was amazing. And, so that brings me back. And at the high school level, I started journalism through the Detour High School Press Club in Town. Detour School, people, put some of these public schools down. But those days, my man, you had some of the best teachers. The government schools attracted some of the best teachers because of the pay and the benefits that came with it. And Detroit High School was once called Talbot High, William Ira Talbot High School. Talbot built that school in Town, seeing the need to improve education and gave opportunities to young people. And so when he died, with all the politics, they changed the name of the school from Talbot High to Detroit High School. But we had a very good English department, and we had a press club, the Detroit High School Press Club. And I bring you, to the late Philip Weezer, a legend in his own right. Philip was a product of the Detroit High School Press Club. He was 1 year ahead of me. And when he was, news editor of the press club, I was his assistant news editor. When he became editor in chief, I became assistant editor in chief. When he left, I took over. And so those foundations, by the time I graduated from high school, the lack of opportunities those days. The vice principal for my school, for Detroit High School, her name was Rachel A.B. Cox George, saw me as a young potential, and given the poverty situation in our country, many young people graduate from schools like Detroit, and you don't go anywhere. For example, Philip Weezer, who graduated, ahead of me, 1 year ahead of me. Philip was still stuck in Town doing nothing. And let me just tell you, Philip was the deuce of his class, his graduating class in 1981. Philip was the deuce of the Detroit High School graduating class. But that young man was stuck in Town, mowing up and down in that dust, no opportunity. And so the following year, when I graduated, this lady decided to offer me a scholarship to go to Ghana so that my future would not be wasted because of the potential I had exhibited, at the school. When you somewhere, it's always good as a child or whoever you are to do your best. Now, they say do your best. Somebody told me, and God will do the rest. Do your best, and God will do the rest. And so, being a dutiful young man in school, focused on my journalism, and those kinds of things. The lady, she said she would be pained to just see me graduate and go out there like the rest of most of the young people and do nothing. And so she offered me this scholarship to go to the Ghana School of Journalism, and and that's how I ended up at the Daily Observer to do my internship. You had to do 6 months of internship as one of the major qualifications to go to a GIJ. And this is how she contacted Mr. Best. Mr. Best recruited me while I was doing my internship at the Daily Observer to go to Ghana. Those days, Ghana was a very, very unstable country. There were one military coup after another. Ghanaians used to come to Liberia to buy, toilet papers. They used to come and buy tissue. They used to come and buy toothpaste and those toilet tissue and toothpaste. Those days in the 1980s. That's how terrible Ghana was. You can now imagine Liberians are going to Ghana, for advanced medical checkup. That's what a difference today makes. And to make long matter short, because of the instability in Ghana, I ended up not going to Ghana again to do my study. But Mr. Best recruited me, and because of the work that I've done, exhibited myself, so well and conducted myself so well, the old man said, even though you can't go, I will keep you. And he said, by the way, young man, I'm so impressed. From your press club, can you go and find somebody else from your press club? Where we're trained, and there will be reporter, to report from Town or those places. This is how I went to Town. Got Philip Weezer, and Philip Weezer came, and the rest is history. So I'll just leave it there, to give you a sense of, where we are.
Yeah, you came a long way, but I'm interested in knowing why you chose journalism, Mr. Williams.
Well, it all started, like I said, it was just in school. When I was in the 10th grade, I was a reporter of my class. Those that used to handwrite the report and put it on the bulletin. And
Yeah.
when the recess time, the rest of the students would form line to be reading the account, and then we did our mimicking. You got the microphone, and the speakers, commented games, in the auditorium, games and stuff. That's how it was. And then during that time also, the late Alhaji Kroma, and peace be to his soul, when he was Director General of the Liberian Broadcasting Service, it used to be ELBC or LBS or whatever you call it. He started a program for young people, school special. The lady who is now the chair of the National Elections Commission, NEC, Councillor Director
Vivian
Barrett
Brown.
Lasana. She
Mhm.
was the producer of that program. She was the conductor. She was the coordinator. And, they selected the best, English students from various high schools. And I did that for a few years. And so it was one of the foundations. And, before you look, we had this High School Journalism Association, that was also stationed at the Ministry of Information. And I was, chair at some point, and and that's how it went. And by the time, and as I indicated once, this lady offered me a fellowship. Where else would I have gone? What career? That was where I was already. And then Daily Observer, and the rest is history.
Yes, and remember during after the Civil War, you were one of those who organized the Inquirer newspaper.
Yes. Upon my return from the United States, and then I served, I joined the leadership of the press union as assistant secretary general. And then, following that, I was elected secretary general. And then the war came. When the war came, everything broke apart. Mr. Best in the Daily Observer newspaper, Mr. Best had to flee with his family. The people destroyed everything and they wanted to take his life, as they did with many other journalists that succeeded in apprehending and murdering. And so after the cessation of hostilities, and I tell you an interesting story. As Secretary General of the Press Union of Liberia, and you talk about activism, that was my first major baptism, during the war, because of the press union's position, condemning, the government, though, for the atrocities that were being committed to hang on to power. And at some point, the press union issuing a statement calling on Doe to leave. They set out to hunt down the leadership of the press union, the student union. And this is how a lot of the student union guys, Gabi Tapia, a lot of these guys were killed. We were all involved in drafting a joint statement. Professor Lamini Warite and myself, we represented the press union along with these guys. Lamini and I got saved. Professor Warite and I got saved because when they started hunting everybody down, we fled to the American embassy. And I'm telling you, I was at that embassy for 6 months plus. That meaning, he left eventually a few weeks after we were held up at the embassy. And those sent his people there to take us. They say we were anti-government. And the people say, well, if you produce evidence that these guys are anti-government, they're rebel, then we'll turn them in. But we need evidence. This is how they left. And that happened until Doe got killed. When Doe got killed, my first day out, after a few months of, just hiding indoors from these people, I was, spotted by the AFL soldiers. Some of the soldiers, I think they were rebels. Yes, the rebels recognized me. Remember how the city had been divided into various parts, and
Yeah.
the group occupied somewhere close to the defense ministry, coming up Broad Street, towards the finance ministry and stuff. And the first day, my brother, I used to have my apartment somewhere on Kerry Street, downtown Monrovia. So I left the embassy to go and see my apartment. Of course, everywhere was being looted, was being plundered. And my girlfriend, my fiancée, who is not my wife, we were worried because she got stuck with me, in hiding.
Wasn't it a good thing? Wasn't it a good thing that you got
Oh,
stuck?
bro, I'm telling you, you are so terrified, you are so traumatized. Until you didn't even think much of nothing. I wish it would have been a moment of paradise, but it was the opposite. But I'm telling you, The first day we came out, Reverend Dede, to go check my apartment at one of the street corners near the AGM school, at the back of the AGM school, on Kerry Street. There was a checkpoint, INPFL checkpoint. These guys, when we were coming from my apartment going back to the embassy, it was just, you're talking about around 1 o'clock going to 2,
Hmm.
broad day. These guys spotted me, and you come to the checkpoint and they will interrogate you. Who are you? Where are you going? One of the guys, he noticed me. He seen me on television. They know that I'm working with Daily Observer. And the guy say, and they try to ask me who I am, and they try to interrogate me. And I try to explain to them, a journalist and stuff. The guy, he turned to his colleagues and said, this man is one of those who are enjoying doing the Dole government. He's
Hmm.
always on TV, yes. And so we got to kill him. And I am telling you, Reverend, I am telling you right there,
Hmm.
those people apprehended me. They
Wow.
stripped me naked.
Hmm.
They stripped me down to my brief, and they put a gun to my hair. I felt the cold muzzle of the gun. And I'm telling you, my whole life flashed in front of me. You
Yeah.
know, it was look, those moments was like eternity. And I'm like, God, is this how my life going to end?
Hmm.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
is this what it is? And it was emotional. And I
Hmm.
told the guy, I said, look, if you kill me, you are killing an innocent man. I was not a Joe supporter.
Hmm.
I'm hiding for the man. And I'm just coming out. So my fiancée then, she said, you will kill him, you will kill the two of us.
Wow.
She held those guys, and she was holding them by their feet, and they were trying to kick her off. They tried to pull a gun. She said, you will kill us both.
Hmm.
And she was yelling in Pele, my people, you come home. My boyfriend and I, he not Joe supporter. They say, how can he on TV? Every time he traveling, we see his name in the paper. He pressing your leader. Who are they? They are the one who enjoy the government. I am telling you. Look, and they took me somewhere where they had shot a few people, and the bodies were there. The blood, fresh blood was oozing from these people. And I said, Lord, the guy put a gun to my head, and I struggled with them. They said the man took his pistol. And he said, "We'll just do it right here." And then around that time, there's a guy that ran from across the road. He
Hmm.
said, Commando, hold fire, Commando, hold fire. He said, why is the woman screaming like this? And they tried to explain to the man, he's a doorman. And she, oh yes, she couldn't let them talk, finish. The man said, you let the man explain. And I explained myself.
Hmm.
And and then after that, look, when I got to explain, they gave me that one moment of my lifetime. The guy said, if you don't prove yourself, if we are not convinced, then we'll execute you.
Hmm.
So I had that moment. And I'm telling you, now lay out the press in your business and where we are. When you got them heard it, look, they crumbled to their knees, and they sought my pardon, my forgiveness. And they wanted to take me to Prince Johnson's base immediately. I am telling you. And it turned out this guy was a Pele guy. My wife is a Pele.
Hmm.
And he knew her father. Her father was a prominent teacher. In fact, in the Salala area, he was the first native teacher, in that part of the world, in that part of our world from the 1950s.
Yeah.
So people knew him. People knew him all around. That fellow knew him. And when he heard her crying, and after he asked her, you are who child? Because you speaking Pele. Then she called her partner. The man said, oh, my man, that's how they free me. They wanted to
Hmm.
take me to the base. I was a wreck. I was a wreck. I'm telling you.
Of course.
You it look if you are I don't want to be gross, but you could have pooped on yourself. You could have pooped. Look, look, I'm telling you. And after we left that scene, I was never really normal. And I'm just laying this to you before we came to the inquiry setting up.
Yeah.
So when ECOMOG finally, gained full control, and the interim government before the Sawyer government came in, there was no normal. Say I started going, Mr. Dapple, Mr. The late Peabody or Rufus Dapple, they were all with torchlight,
Yeah.
across the bridge. So
Yeah.
they encouraged me to get out. They used to joke me a lot, say he's scared, like get a rat, all the big mouth. they shake you up, you can't get out. So so yeah, so eventually I gained courage to go across the bridge to them and come back, and it made me, contributing editor. But Prince Johnson harassed the newspaper so much, they were arresting Mr. Dabo then back and forth until some of the guys, the late T. Max Tier, who was news editor at the Daily Observer. When I went to the Daily Observer as a cop reporter or as an intern, as an internee, Mr. Tier, T. Max Tier, he was a news editor, and he helped to train me and helped to train a lot of other journalists. All of us, in fact, up to that point. The Philip Weiser, the group, because I was already at Daily Observer before Philip came, I brought him over. So you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So the guys decided to set up a newspaper, and they invited me to be a part of it. We went to the meeting. Okay, I'm expecting, to just play some secondary role, right? Some
Yeah.
editorial, this and that. Not expecting nothing, and we are all in this meeting. We're having discussion. T Max, the leader of our group, got up, and who was the presumptive head who was setting up everything, we all look up to our leader. T Max got up and say, even though he is a leader of this group, it is clear, but he would prefer for me, Gabriel Williams, to take over the leadership of this institution that we're trying to set up,
Mm.
because, even though he trained me, I have proven to be more of a leader than he was, because he's dead now.
Yeah. May his soul
So he
rest
will
in peace.
prefer me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Look, when that thing happened, I'm telling you, it was one commotion. I said, but hear me here, traumatized as hell, you know, and then here we're trying to set up an independent newspaper, terrible war situation like that. We ain't got no money. We don't have any office. We have nothing. Just
Mm.
the idea, the concept. And then those who have one or two typewriters, you are going to bring it. If you found a one couple of news, a ream of paper, you bring it. That was the idea. With look, I told him to look, Timas, and I actually said, I hope nobody's setting me up for the guy to finish me, because I mean, you leading me to death. I almost, yes, I am, yes. Look, we were one back and forth. I'm telling you, I say I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. Where you expect us to get something from? The man said, well, you're the only one who depending on, I depend on you to lead this effort. We went back and forth, back. And then it dawned on me that the guy was serious. He said, I am the leader and I have dealt with everybody. And some of the guys are very close to him, not me, because I left them at the Daily Observer before the war came. So, look, I'm telling you, it was contentious. Eventually, I told him, said, look, if I'm going to, when it dawned on me that he was serious, I told him, if I am going to continue this process, you will have to make a commitment that when I'm ready to move and take my action as a leader, you will not interfere in my decision. Even to the point, if I have to fire you, sir, you have to agree as a staff. If I'm going to be the managing editor of this place, I'm going to be, even though you brought all of us and you're going to be the editor in chief, but I cannot be looking over my shoulder. Do you agree? He said, yes. Do you agree? That look on, yes. And Philip, we said, I think I told this story how Philip was the first to get up and say, tell a story, right? About what transpired at the Daily Observer. I brought him, but then he ended up being news editor because the burger was so good. Philip was good. You couldn't argue it. And then some guys were trying to set me up along with other guys for us to resist Philip, we said, because we were there before. And My disposition to that matter killed the whole thing. I was the me party people that were hoping to lead that anti-Philip Whistle thing, and they didn't understand who they were dealing with.
Yeah.
I don't fight over those things. I don't. I was just grateful that I had my career. It was not about position, and I understood that the management had their right, of the people had their right, to appoint whoever they want. It doesn't. It's hurtful. You feel pain that they didn't make you when you were along that line, because I was in line for that position. But the management had their best decision, and Philip, no doubt, he was the best. And I gave Philip a hug that day, and that killed. That didn't get lost on Philip. Eventually, I left the Observer, and they were there until the war came. But when this situation came up, Philip was the first among the group to say yes. I support Gabriel. Then he brought this story. When I had my challenges and some of the colleagues came at me and they were trying to use Gabriel because he facilitated my coming to the Observer, he said he had want nothing to do. He want no part of it. He gave me a hug and he supported me. He never gave me any problem once until he left. So, Gabriel, yeah, my man, you got my support. Imagine after I left, Philip. So that's how it was. To make a long matter short, that's how I came to the Inquirer and we got our paper started. And I'm telling you, there were challenges along the way, but as a leader, you gotta be a leader. When I take my decision, bro, I consult. That's the reason why the institution remains.
Yeah.
We built an institution. I didn't, because I was young, I didn't have much experience. People were saying that the paper was not going to last longer because Gabriel didn't have experience. What did I do? I brought our legendary father, Mr. Peabody, as our editorial consultant. I brought Dr. K. Moses Namwe, English professor from the university. You know of him,
Yeah.
and Yada Chie from the university. All these people to be, proofreading. Look, we recruited the best minds of Betterware Freeman, Councillor Betterware Freeman, who is, I think they just recently relieved him as head of one of those national commissions and stuff. Councillor Betterware Freeman, we were all brothers and colleagues. If you didn't know Gabriel Williams, if you went to the Inquirer, you'll be asking for me and they will say, yeah, the man there. Yes, because it was that teamwork. It was that team. Not that we didn't have time, but if I had to take decisions, I would take it and go to bed.
Wonderful.
And that's how it was. And that's how the paper was sustained to this point.
Wonderful. I mean, the reason why we wanted you to really go into your background is to make the point that we are discussing this topic because you come from an informed background, an informed position where you worked, you lived it, you were time tested, and you experienced what it means to be an active journalist and to be between the scissors in terms of dealing with people who wanted to take your life. So now, just as Liberia, we have a new media landscape in our country. People have different perspectives about the media role, the media responsibility, and the performance of the media in Liberia. What is your take on the media landscape in Liberia today?
Look, the media landscape in Liberia has gone through a major transformation. It is not what it was in the 1980s and the 90s anymore. I'm telling you. And, I got my own reawakening after I left government, right? And went back to practice as a journalist. In a few years ago, just a few years ago, especially after COVID, I realized that the newspapers, of all, that were, that set the national pace, the national agenda, that, that the government, when people wanted to read the Daily Observer to see what's inside, they inquire them, those kinds of things. It's a new world right now. These papers, yes, it's a new world right now. The social media and the clamor for airwaves, for airtime, and all of the postings, yes, that has taken away seriously from the traditional media landscape. The newspapers, as it is, they're struggling right now. From our end at the Inquirer, we are actually looking into how we can transform the entity to go into other areas. And that was the reason why a few years ago, we actually bought a printing press, my brother. We bought a printing press. It was part of the way of getting the people to diversify, to generate resources, to be able to invest into other areas. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that press, it broke down completely. And the paper suffered tremendous losses from it up to this point. We didn't generate anything out of it because of the current investment climate in the country where you don't have electricity. People who advised us to buy this particular equipment, that's why I'm very critical about things, bringing people with the right expertise to do things. We ask our managers to do the requisite things, but the broad people who said buy this generator, buy that generator, you're buying, my man. You spending $250,000 and this and that for generator, and then you bring in the generator cannot run the machine.
Hmm.
Yes, and then because of the generator's problem, the machine keeps getting problem, the breakdown. You got to go to Ivory Coast, you got to go to Nigeria, got to go to Ghana to bypass. There are few people that you can go through. You give them money, they take it. Eventually, we had it on the place, installed on Camp Johnson Road. No, we printed for a few newspapers, but it was at a loss consistently, and we had to dispose of it.
Hmm.
Yes, that is
Wow.
one aspect of it. That's what I'm saying, and all the news organs are going through this. And you see how the airwaves, go across the country and see the number of radio stations. During my days in government, I was, as representative of government, was involved in, how you call it, commissioning, right? Going to dedicate various radio stations across the country. And it was a pleasing note to see that, to see, the diversity. You go to places, bars, or now people got 12, 15 radio stations. Imagine River says the first radio station in my own place, River says, I want to dedicate it on behalf of the government when I was at the Ministry of Information as Deputy Minister of Information. And imagine the great joy and satisfaction it brings to me going across the country and meeting journalists and doing those things. So yes, uh, the media landscape has changed completely. Why has it also changed? In terms of training and capacity building, and you need to see the production of our newspaper and the production of the newspaper of other countries. Ghana and other Nigeria, other places. You need to see the broadcast quality, content quality, in terms of broadcast on the radio, on television. Go to Ghana, go to these places, compare it with ours. I'm sure you were in Ghana recently, and you can test to that difference. Look, I'll give you an example. When I was at the Ministry of Information, and we first launched this effort, to restore electricity to Monrovia, and the Ghanaian president came to launch it because Ghana, was assisting Liberia through the partnership sponsored by the World Bank, to get our electricity grid started. Where we coin this expression, small light today, big light tomorrow. Which is the basis on which the electric grid is being built over the years since the war. Now, when the president came, the Ghanaian reporters that came with that man, when they left, as many of the newspapers, Ghanaian newspapers, are requested for them. And just to compare the reporting, right? This was July 26 in Liberia. The quality of reporting of the Liberian journalists and the quality of reporting of the Ghanaian journalists, I used to always use that as a barometer when I was going to media intervention programs to tell our people, say, we need to do more. Not to condemn anyone. And that was the main reason. I came also another thing, Reverend Dada, you know me for many years. Before I went to the Ministry of Information, when they called him, and Dr. Allen is still around, C. William Allen, he called to say, that the president was having me go to the Ministry of Information. I declined. And I told him, that, I don't want this job because I would not go to that ministry and people will tell me to shut down newspaper. Eventually, to make long matter short, when they finally we finally agree on you know the 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 it was my position. And I give you an example. When the government shut down the independent newspaper that time, under Madame, I went to the president and expressed my disapproval. I'm telling you, I sought an audience with the president. As much as it was a government position led by the Minister of Information, I advised the minister as his deputy, that, as his technical deputy, of public affairs, with all the knowledge in journalism that I have, with all the international background, work here in America, work at the international level. Since May, he thought he had, and so I went to the president. I said I just agree with the president, with the minister's position, and I lay out the legal framework, the historical framework, and because of that, the president changed the position. So those are the things we have to do as, like, when you're in this position, bro, be able to be consistent. You know.
That's wonderful. To Hoya Totten, that will be right back. We have the veteran journalist Gabriel R.H. Williams, who is our special guest today. And this is the Gracious Hope live podcast. My name is Pastor Suarez Dede. My co-host, Reverend Dr. Alexander Red, is not well today. And like I said, we pray for speedy recovery. We are discussing the Liberian press and the eye of the Liberian press. We know the importance of the press in Liberia and the world over. So stay tuned. Don't go away. We will be right back. Well, welcome back. My name is Pastor Suarez Dede, and this is the Gracious Hope Live podcast. And our guest today is none other than our veteran journalist, Gabriel R.H. William. I will ask him, somebody asked me, what does the R.H. Represent? We will ask him, we will come back. He will explain himself. The person says he has a very long name. That's not the point today. We are focusing on the Liberian media, the Liberian press. We know the press is the fulcrum of democracy and good governance everywhere on the face of this earth. And any government that intends to do well by its people must engage in good governance and democracy. And so the media plays that pivotal role, that central role in promoting and advocating for democracy and good governance. You listen to our special guest today. He elaborated on his own experience in the media as an active media participant and his own stress he went through at the point of death. You heard him if you were watching him then. And so we want to focus on, as we go ahead now, we want to focus on what is the media going through right now, the challenges of the media in Liberia. Mr. Williams started discussing that. Before we go back to Mr. Williams, we want to just bring to your attention this statement on World Press Freedom Day. I took this from the Data Observer newspaper. It says, this is a press article, a press release. It says, on World Press Freedom Day, the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building, CEME, that's a long acronym here, CEMESP, released a pungent statement echoing the sentiments of a nation grappling with the complexities of its media landscape. At the CEMESP office in Monrovia on Thursday, Program Assistant Rimonga Blodge Joe II, on behalf of SEMESP's director Malcolm W. Joseph, conveyed the media development group's message calling for impactful change through new ideas and innovation. That statement enumerated some issues that the media is encountering. The statement said that Liberia stands at a critical juncture in its media landscape as the world commemorates World Press Freedom Day on May 3rd, 2024. Drawing from the latest Press Freedom Index for Liberia by Reporters Without Borders, Mr. Joe II said he outlined a picture that celebrates the strides made since the end of the Civil War, while acknowledging persistent challenges, pointing fingers at political interference, ownership, and poor welfare for journalists. The statement says, and I quote, despite improvement, political interference in media ownership and content remains a concern. He underscored the importance of recent legislative reforms, including the elimination of sedition and defamation laws, as progress towards a more conducive environment for press freedom. Yet, according to them, amidst these advancements, SEMESP program associate highlighted the stark reality of journalists facing economic hardships and enduring specter of self-censorship due to lack of advertisement and poor management of media entities. I think Mr. Gabriel alluded to that. So the statement says, and I quote on this one, many credible reports have spoken to the unacceptable levels at which self-censorship persists. He lamented, particularly on sensitive topics such as corruption and abuse of power. The SEMESP statement did not shy away from addressing the darker side of press freedom in Liberia, adding, and I quote, we continue to witness instances where Liberian law enforcement remains a source of insecurity for journalists. Oh, we experienced that in the past, and is continuing. That is a sad commentary. The statement urged authorities to ensure accountability for attacks on press freedom. I'll read that again. The statement urged authorities to ensure accountability for attacks on press freedom. The statement continues, and I quote, the voices of journalists are essential for fostering transparency, accountability, and democracy in Liberia. Liberian authorities must ensure that security personnel who attack journalists are punished for their actions. Joe also lauded and emphasized the resilience and diversity of Liberia's media landscape, calling for concerted efforts to safeguard the safety and freedom of journalists. So I can relate to this in so many different ways when I also work in the media, but I'm not talking about myself today. We are talking about the eye on the Liberian Press, and we have our guest today to elaborate on these issues. So I'm going to bring Mr. Williams back for us to just shoot a little bit on the statement released by SEMESP. Again, this is a very long acronym, but we'll have to get used to that. So you listen to this, just a brief on this statement. What do you gather from the picture painted by this group?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Reverend Daddy, I think the acronym, that organization's acronym, they call it CMEPS or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, with Malcolm, Joseph, and a group of very brilliant young people, you know,
indeed, indeed.
proactive guys, But when I went back to Liberia, they had this non-governmental organization, this CMEPS, and a couple other groups, very, very proactive. Some of the brilliant minds. That's why I told you earlier that despite the challenges, progress is steady in a sense that the country is going through, the media landscape is going through transformation. Before, during our time, before the war, we didn't have organizations, outside of the press union, and those kinds of things. So they have been doing well. And the issues that they have covered, they just on the point. Look, the abuse of press freedom now is not
Yeah,
just the government arbitrarily shutting down newspaper, arresting journalists, beating them, killing people, but there are so many means through which they are muzzling the press. They use the economic factor. Take into consideration that in Liberia right now, the government is the biggest game in town economically,
hmm,
and they are the biggest source of revenue for any media entity. And they do a lot of business with all the media, many of the major media entities. But what did they do during the last administration, the administration of Mr. George Weah? And now bring you back to the beginning of Mr. Weah's administration, when his finance minister, Samuel Toy, yes, publicly said that, declared that, they will weaponize the media. That was their code
hmm,
name of, yes, muzzling the press, causing shutting down news organs. And you may recall that during the administration of Mr. Weah, there's a journalist who got killed. Zeno Miller. Zeno Miller got killed by allegedly by presidential guards because of his reporting. They met him. They met him on the football field. The president went, I think, to SKD or something, and these people they hounded the young man, beat him up, and he never recovered. You
hmm,
know, and in the wake of the noise and other issues, abuses the government perpetrated, and we issued a stronger water, the former leaders of the press union issued a stronger water statement condemning them. And then Mr. Weah went and set up some presidential committee headed by his advisor, a former minister of information, Lawrence Brooklyn. Now, you remember I told you a story earlier about the independent newspaper
hmm.
that was shut down during Madam Ellen's time, and I went at the risk of losing my own job because the president could fire me for that. But I went. It was this Brooklyn guy. He refused to understand. These fellows, my man, when they are in position, they think they have arrived. Okay? And so those are the things that were happening. And as a result of these challenges, we have the media being muzzled seriously. And I come back to the issue of how the Dole regime, they muscled the media seriously. There were challenges during Madame's term, but I'm telling you, they multiplied during the weird time. It was not visible beatings, like I said. But if you strangulate the media, what do you if you come up openly? And I give you another example of these people desperation to just muscle everyone into cower everybody into submission, whatever way they could do it. Uh, they tried to destroy the Inquirer newspaper when they went and paid off some of the editors, most of the editors of that paper of the Inquirer to go and form another paper, as a way of breaking down the Inquirer.
Hmm.
And the old Inquirer, nearly $100,000. Some of the newspaper they owe over $100,000. The we are government, and they refuse to pay any of them so that to make sure that everybody go asunder. We
Wow.
have been strangulated. Oh yes, we have been struggling. For example, the Inquirer, we can feel research passing everything to keep that entity going. And most of the other papers go through media outlets go through the same challenge. The fellows, so yes, and then as a result of that, you find a situation where where self-censorship is a major, has it become a major issue, so that you will be able, to survive. And during the elections, and I say this from one of the key media leaders, there were certain journalists that the government bribed. They gave them money to to promote the government. They
Hmm.
left other media outlets, who they thought were not friendly. They left them out. It is an open secret in Liberia.
Would you mind elaborating on that for those who don't know?
What that means is Mr. Tue, the finance minister, Mr. Weah, who was sanctioned by the United States government for economic crimes. Tue went and recruited certain journalists from certain media outlets or certain media outlets to promote the government. And those media outlets or journalists that were not seen to be friendly, you on your own.
Hmm.
In fact, you could be dead for all they care. Yes, this matter was brought to our attention because I am also a media owner. I'm the chair of the board of shareholders of the Inquirer newspaper. You have a wage bill.
Indeed,
You got
indeed.
salaries. You got a lot of
We'll
things.
soon be concluding, Mr. Williams. We'll soon be concluding. We'll have about just 2 more minutes to go. I know you
Okay.
have a lot to share,
Yes.
and we thank you so much for all these things. But CMS statement also talk about poor management of media institutions and entities. Would you just, for 30 seconds, see if you have any comments on that?
That is a major problem in the country. Being a journalist, being a writer doesn't make you a manager. We need people with the professional expertise. But because some of the newspaper is a briefcase kind of show, and then people work for some of the media entities and guys who pay them. So you have a situation that you have. We avoided that at the Daily Observer because at the Inquirer rather, because we model our institution on that of the Daily Observer. We have managers who were in various offices, financial affairs, or whatever. We brought in people with the expertise, even lawyers, to advise us. And we had them on our payroll. But the other guys, some other people don't want to do it. So you have the situation you have.
Exactly. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you place the professionalism and ethics standard or ethical standard of the Liberian media on a scale from 1 to 10?
I would not give a scale right now. I will have to think about it very seriously. One thing I know that is the Liberian media is at a crossroads. There are very serious challenges, integrity problem, and when you look at people are not being paid, that is a major problem. That's why I hate criticism of the media, because if you get the people, you give them their jobs and they are being paid, you hold them responsible. At the Inquirer, with all our challenges, we even have medical
Indeed.
benefits, health benefits. We made sure we put that in. When you're sick, you come to the office, they will send you to the doctor. You and your family, once you are an employee there, and then of course the salary, we try as much as possible to pay. If you don't do that, what do you expect these people? They come, they go hustle. They go hustle. So that's where the blackmailing come in. The credible institutions, you don't hear about blackmailing as much, if any. But
Wonderful.
because this is because of the effort, the management, you got good management, and they make an effort to give people whatever they have to take care of their families. If you don't do it, you open a room for integrity issues.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mr. Williams, you spoke well on the issues today from my point. I don't know about others watching, but I want to thank you so much for your eloquence in presenting the issues, starting with your own self, your own involvement, the perils you went through, the danger at your own life, and the rest of that, and you remain steadfast, coming back and then establishing the inquiry, even though you were afraid, quote unquote, to go out because you almost died, so you were afraid. But in any case, you still braved the situation, the storm, and went out to establish the inquiry newspaper. So we want to thank you for your service to the media landscape in Liberia in the past and even now, because you are still active in one way or another, releasing statements, informing the citizenry about what's happening in our country. So thank you, Mr. Williams. We appreciate you. But again, what does the RH stand for? Just
Oh, okay. The I is Isaac. I'm my dad's first son, and the H is Herring. I'm connected to the Herring family through my father's side, and so and then Williams is the people who raised me. I mean, without them, bro, I'm not sure if I would have left up country to have the education. Those people did what they could. You hear about people, they live with other people, conquer people, this and that, and they get the raw end of the deal. Those people did their best to educate me, and I'm here because of that. So I carry that name proudly, and I tell people I'm a raw native Liberian man, Pastor man, River says, but I am blessed to be that bridge, growing up in an American Liberian home and experiencing both sides of the world. That's why I'm able to perform effectively. That's why I'm able to discern in looking at issues not just from one perspective, but from a broader perspective for the betterment of our country.
wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Williams. That was a way to conclude. But let me give you the benefit of the doubt. I know we 1 minute ahead, but is there anything you wanted to say that we did not ask you, Mr. Williams?
Yeah, all I want to say is to call on the Liberian people to take heart. We got a government that just came three months ago. What was not done in 6 years under Mr. Weah can that be done in 3-4 months under Mr. Boaka? One good thing is, the government, despite the challenges, they're starting off well. And I say because I am somebody who have criticized President Boaka from the start. The War in Economic Crimes Court stands out for the betterment of our country. The fixing of these roads, the 100 days deliverable, rehabilitating these roads, and despite the challenges they have, these kinds of measures they're putting in place, they have to safeguard the country, and over time, Liberians are going to feel the benefit. So, despite the job situation, let us take heart, let us be comforted by the fact that what has been broken is not going to take overnight to fix it. It's going to take time. The War in Economic Crimes Code, for example, is going to bring about, accountability in our country, without which the people are plundering our country. They're murdering, they're doing everything in government, and they think they can get away with it. With the War in Economic Crimes Code, that's going to set precedents to put an end or continue these kinds of unsavory behaviors.
Thank you, Mr. William. Thanks to you for your eloquence in presenting the issues that you have weighing on your hearts. We thank you for accepting this time to appear live on the Gracious Hope live podcast on this very interesting topic, the eye of the Liberian Press. You delve into the issues and bring your own personal perspectives into it. Thank you for your fairness and your candid approach to this topic. We want to thank you. And again, we might invite you again, and we hope you will accept our follow-up invitation for us to go on from where we stopping today. So thank you, sir, and have a wonderful day. And God richly bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, and Reverend Dede, and thank you, you and Pastor Alex, for this program and for its informative nature and what you do all the time to keep our country on the right path. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
So we want to thank my brother and friend Gabriel Isaac Heron Williams. Now I know what the I is stands for coming up and presenting himself as he always does. He never disappoints. And we're not surprised of his presentation today on this live podcast. We wish our co-host Alexander, Reverend Dr. Alexander Red, a speedy recovery from the sickness he's having. And it's not diet, but when you're not well, you don't want to come on air. So we wish him all the best today, that God will lift him up and God will strengthen him. We want to conclude this podcast by thanking all of you but for watching us today. We want to conclude with this part of this statement issued by Simmons. At the end here, it talks about the issue of the absence of climate report or coverage in the Liberian media. It says, as the statement reached its climax, Joe called for action in the face of environmental crisis, aligning with this year's theme, Press for the Planet. The statement said, and I quote, climate education remains almost non-existent in Liberia, with inadequate resources and attention devoted to raising awareness about environmental issues. This is something that Liberian media, besides the political aspect and other issues, to begin to prioritize as well. So we want to thank St. Peter's for this statement that we took from the Daily Observer newspaper, and we want to give credit to the Daily Observer for allowing us to use this one. So thank you for joining us. My name is Pastor Suarez Dede. This concludes our podcast on the Eye of the Liberian Press. And our special guest today was Mr. Gabriel R.H. Williams, the former official of the Press Union of Liberia and a founding leader of the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas, ARJA. We also want to say shout out to ARJA leadership in the Americas, Mr. Bisa and his team, for advocating press freedom, for standing for journalists, and providing working tools for them. We want to applaud that and thank them for doing what they are doing. And don't be discouraged about any other thing, but focus on the mission that you have for ARJA. God bless you. This concludes our podcast today. We hope to see you maybe next time. Pray for us and share this video as we also pray for you. Bye for now.